Super excited for a video down at Juniper Level Botanic Garden, home of Plant Delight's Nursery. We have been here a few times with Tony. I hope you guys will go back and look at some of those videos. You're in the middle of your spring open garden season, right?
We are. We've got 2 weekends down. We're going to add one more this next weekend.
Right. Well, so we have always been here. Steph and I rarely take time in the spring. You know how it is. You're in the middle of your thing. I'm in the middle of my thing. Everybody is, and we don't get to see each other's gardens necessarily at peak spring. So we've taken the opportunity this year. Normally the agave are kind of bloomed out at, we see the spikes, but we don't, they're kind of bloomed out. So we're finally here at peak season and want to kind of talk about those to start off the video. If you would jump in and talk about agave, just as a garden plant that people may not know they can even have. Well,
they really don't. A lot of people think they're not hardy here. They go to the beach, they see them there, but when you bring them inland, we're 2 hours away, they die in the winters. And we killed all of ours when we first tried it. And then we got studying, we realized that all of the agaves that were in cultivation originated for collections for English greenhouses. So collectors, you're going up to a mountain in Mexico or Arizona, you're not going to climb to the top of the mountain, you're just going to collect the first one you find at the bottom, and those don't have much hardiness.
Right.
So we had to go back to Mexico, back to Arizona, and collect higher up the mountain at higher elevations. Then all of a sudden we started to realize, oh, now we do have hardy ones.
Right.
And then from there we've expanded. We've got all the hardy species, so now we began breeding our own. So we've been able to create a pretty good diverse range of agaves for cold winter climates.
Right. Yeah, it's an incredible collection. How many do you have coming into flower?
I believe we have 18 currently in flower.
Right. So where people call these century plants out west, they bloom a little quicker here, right?
They do. The blooming of an agave, for people who don't know, they flower one time in their lifetime and then they fall over dead. So it's just they live their entire life to have sex one time and then they're dead. And in the wild, the name century plants comes because it takes about 100 years. Well, it's all based on size.
Right.
Size in agave is based on moisture. Moisture is based on rainfall.
Yeah.
So our rainfall would be 6 to 7 times what it would see in the wild. So we can typically flower them, depending on the species, between 7 and 15 years.
Right.
So we're now having between 15 and 20 flower every single year. So it's quite a sight this time of year.
Yeah, it's wild, and the pollinators absolutely go wild for these things, right?
Nuts. Yeah, when we're up breeding, you're up, 20, 25 feet in the air. It's like, as I say, it's like King Kong swatting away the plains.
Yeah, right.
They're just bees everywhere. They're ants going up and down. It's like it's like a highway of ants just going up to get the nectar. They're incredible pollinator plants.
Right. Will you talk about the one over here you have with the yellow color? Because like you said, typically the variegates aren't hardy.
Yeah, typically all these beautiful variegated agaves, of which we love, won't grow through the winter because the variegation, where the variegation is, that part of the leaf doesn't have as much chlorophyll, therefore it doesn't produce as much sugars, which are plant antifreeze. So in the wintertime, let's just say this plant would survive 5 degrees, the variegated part starts falling apart at 25 degrees. So you get a good frost, all the variegated part rots, and then the rest of the leaf decomposes. So what we found in this one, this is one we named Awakening Angel. This actually is, it's called lutescent. Lutescent means the plant brightens as the season goes on. So this one during the wintertime and fall is solid blue, no variegation. Then in spring, this incredible variegation comes with a new foliage. So because it's blue in the winter, it doesn't lose any hardiness.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? So what's the key? I mean, it's not the summer wet that's the problem. It's when it's actively growing, right? It's the winter wet. So how are you preparing for that?
Agaves love moisture when they're actively growing. They absolutely, because their leaves are nothing but water.
Yeah.
So the key is wintertime. So that it needs good drainage in the winter.
Yeah.
And that is internal and external drainage. So external drainage, would be, does the water run off?
I got you.
Is it on a slope? Because in a cold climate, you got to have agaves on a slope. And then, how is the internal drainage? Does it run through quickly? So this area is 50% of the soil it's growing in is a product called permatill, which is it's like popped pea gravel.
Yeah, right.
It's expanded slate, and it allows the water to move through quickly.
Right.
And as we tell people, when you're planting agaves, do not plant them after mid-August, not in our climate, because they won't get large enough to shed the water
gotcha.
in the wintertime. So get them in early in the season is better. If you happen to buy one late in the year, grow it as a house plant until spring, and then get some size up on it, and then plant it out.
You have a big list of them. Some of them are going to be zone 7 hardy, some are going to be zone 8 hardy, some are not only 9 and 10, right? I mean, you have
and some are 6 and 5.
Right, yeah, okay, gotcha. So you have them pretty much for anybody watching can find one of these to try.
Yeah, absolutely. What's interesting, the ones that are zone 5 and 6 hardy generally do terrible down here in zone 8.
Oh, right, gotcha.
So they are just particularly sensitive to both drainage and heat.
Okay, gotcha.
So whereas most of the other ones it's the winter moisture, those really hardy ones, it's the summer moisture that gets them. Right.
One more thing, and then I promise we're gonna jump to other things here, but one other thing is I think you would think that these are kind of hard to design with, but I actually think this, number one, the blue foliage is beautiful in any garden.
Yeah.
But also, I think it contrasts with these things that you think, I think you think you're going to plant this and that's what you're going to be, that space. But we found that all kinds of things look really, really great with them.
They do. It's a textural thing. And if you want a combination to really jump, you combine a bold texture like an agave with a fine texture like a Amsonia or anything, or ornamental grasses. It's all about using textures, and there is no better bold texture in the garden than an agave. And if you want to draw attention, when one comes into flower, everybody will stop and visit. You'll meet all your neighbors. You'll meet strangers. There's just nothing like having an agave flower.
All right, let's jump around.
Hey, Kit Kat.
Well, the real star of the garden here, in the open garden.
Absolutely.
In the open garden.
They know it.
Yes, yeah. We were here the other day, and they were in the greenhouses with customers.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people that are trying to add edibles to their gardens, and they'll try the hardest things they can possibly find, like apples or pears, or let me find the hardest things to grow. But there are some perennial edible plants that we can put in our gardens that are just easy.
Yeah, I mean, the term now that people use is called edimentals. And that means things that are ornamental as well as being edible.
Yeah.
And one of the best we've ever grown is a plant called sea kale. Yeah. Sea kale is a native to the English seacoast all the way up into Norway, where it grows on the beaches. So it's salt tolerant. It needs absolutely no irrigation ever. Once it's established, it is incredible. It grows in the hottest, driest conditions imaginable. And it never has to be replanted. So a typical kale and cabbage and everything in that family has lots of problems with cabbage loopers.
Yeah.
We've never seen a cabbage looper on this thing.
Wow.
And it's grown for the flowers.
Yeah.
Which have finished now, beautiful white. And again, the fact that you never have to plant it. This patch is now 5 years old. Yeah. So you've avoided having to go out and start new plants every single year. Right. I just don't understand why everyone is not growing sea kales.
Eating this it's got a thick texture, but it has none of that bitter brassica aftertaste that you would get in improved brassicas. It has no aftertaste, no bitter aftertaste. This is really great.
It is. It's one of those incredible plants. It's like, why are people not growing this? I mean, people who struggle with gardens and claim they have black thumbs, this is your plant, but don't treat it well. Don't irrigate it. Don't put it in really good. This soil is 50% gravel.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this is growing in the worst conditions
with cactus
imaginable.
And yuccas and
yes.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't get any more harsh. And look how great that looks.
Yeah. Beautiful. salvias and almost anything in the Lamiaceae have become very important plants to ornamental landscaping with deer and rabbits and other things. And we have great native plants in this.
We do. The salvias are a worldwide genus. There's some great ones like the Salvia gregia types and Salvia microphylla, which are Texas and into Mexico.
Yeah.
These are amazing. Common name is Texas sage. It flowers really heavy in spring. So we go in and do a cutback in late winter, and it just is a mass of flowers now. And it'll flower sporadically through the summer, but slows down. And then as soon as the weather cools in fall, it just explodes again. And these are plants that like really good drainage. That's the key. If you put them in a wet area, they're not going to be happy. But here, bone dry, growing with cactus and agaves, they are happy as clams.
You've done a lot of several introductions of these over the years.
We have lot for a lot of folks. The colors range. Now, typically Gregia has more of a pink or white or red, and then you mix it with Salvia microphylla and some of the other species. You can get into yellows and pastels, and you mix in Lysioides, you can get in purples, and but they're all basically variations on a theme where you have this. It's actually a woody plant. It's a shrub. It's not a perennial. That's what people think of most salvias as perennials. This is actually a woody shrub.
And then it'll come back around in the fall on cool nights. Get it going again.
It's incredible in the fall. There's not much that you can get that flowers that good in spring and then flowers great again in fall.
One that will flower through the summer, another Texas native over here.
Yes, this is Salvia Frenia. This is another, again, Texas native. What an incredible plant. So here we are in spring. It'll look that good all summer long. It just flowers and flowers and flowers. This one is a perennial. So in the wintertime, it completely dies down, pops right back up in spring. Again, all that needs is hot and really good drainage.
This is a named variety. Is this one that you did?
There are a lot of good name varieties around. This is Midnight Candle. So this is one of many of the selections that you can find around.
So this was dormant 2 months ago.
This was, a month ago.
This was dormant, and now it's in a absolutely perfect ball without any. You've done nothing to it. It's popped back out of the ground, and it just looks like
no pruning, nothing. It's pretty much as if you've got hot, dry sun. It just doesn't get much better than that.
And it's getting bee visits even on a kind of a misty morning here.
Oh yeah, the native bees absolutely love this. Salvias as a group are really, they're just designed for bees.
Yeah. Let's talk about Alsteria for a minute.
Well, it's another great plant. It's a plant that really was championed by the floral industry for years, and obviously they sell it as cut flowers. And people didn't realize how good it did in the gardens because most of the early plants would not grow well here. So you've got two really centers of distribution in the wild. You've got the Chilean material, which is very hardy but hates summers in the deep south. And then you got the material from Brazil, which loves summers, not so much our winters. And so Mark Bridgen was really one of the first Americans to work with breeding Alsteria, and he got good hardiness and good heat tolerance, but not so good flower size. They really weren't quite to the quality of the commercial material. And years ago, we got thinking, well, has anybody actually tried the material that was bred only for cuts and bred for greenhouse growing? And the answer was no. Nobody had actually looked at it in the garden.
Gotcha.
So we began working with some of the Dutch breeders to bring these into the U.S. to trial in the gardens, and we find they're incredible. They're heat tolerant, and they're actually much more cold tolerant. We've sent some into cold zone 6, warm zone 5, and they're even thriving there. So they're starting to bloom now. We're in mid-May here. They will bloom pretty much throughout the summer. They do slow down some in the heat of the summer. They never stop. And then again, in fall, like the salvias, they pick up and they just start exploding again. So if you actually look at the economics of what you would pay for a few stems of Alsteria and what you would pay for a pot of Alsteria, you talk about great return on investment as a homeowner. There is not a better plant that you can get more out of it than you can with these.
Yeah. So in the garden, this is a winter wet issue plant potentially. Yeah. So you've got them raised up here.
Yeah. So they don't love winter wet. They're not as sensitive as many other
right.
things.
We're not talking about agave again. We're talking about, but yeah.
They're actually pretty easy to grow, and we found growing conditions, they like anywhere from half-day sun to maybe a light open filter, but that half-day sun is really what we would describe as the sweet spot for getting these to grow.
While I've got you on camera here, you've got a witch hazel behind it that we bought the other day. So you want to talk about your beautiful variegated witch hazel?
Isn't that amazing plant?
Yes.
That's this is Little Prospect. This is one we got years ago from a nurseryman in Tennessee who was he was grafting, and this came up in one of his understocks. So the plants he grafted. And what an amazing plant. And this is a dwarf witch hazel, so it never gets very tall. The color holds great. There's not many witch hazels you grow for the foliage, but Little Prospect is absolutely top notch.
It's a beautiful plant. We buy anything variegated or chartreuse. So as soon as I saw it, and they're grafted?
They are grafted, So this is sort of our variegated bed. So we've got that. We've got the variegated magnolia. This is one of the few truly variegated leaf magnolia. This is called Fancy Dude.
Wow.
What an amazing plant. Most of the variegated magnolias are very genetically unstable. You get one variegated shoot and 5 green shoots, but this one is just almost never see anything other than this beautiful variegated foliage.
Yeah, beautiful. Does it kind of grows that fastigiate?
It does, we don't care if that ever flowers. That's just such a fabulous plant.
Tell us about this beautiful ground cover juniper.
Well, this is another of the great North American native junipers, Juniperus horizontalis. We've had golden ones for years. The original ones, Mother Lode, came out 30 plus years ago. And it was a breakthrough because it gave us the ever gold color in the ground cover, but it wasn't a great grower here in our area. This is Copper Harbor. So this is a introduction that's come out in the last 10 years from Blue Horizon Nursery up in Michigan, which is a very small nursery, but one of the finest native junipers I've ever seen. Again, Copper Harbor, look at that.
Does it hold the color pretty well in the summer?
It holds the color all summer long. In the wintertime, it does get a coppery color, which I really like, and then it comes back to this beautiful yellow. So I think this is absolutely incredible. This is a 7-year-old patch. So you can get an idea. It's going to be about 10 foot across, and
this was
in
one
probably
plant?
10 years. This was one plant.
This was one plant. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So 7 years. That's pretty quick for a chartreuse colored plant like this of any kind.
Typically they grow slower, but what an amazing introduction. So it's just starting to get out into the mainstream trade, but I think once people realize how great this plant is, you'll see it start popping up everywhere in nurseries.
So Tony, this is truly a bucket list garden you've created. This is your kind of life's work, really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would describe it as that, I would guess. I'm speaking for you, but I mean, it's, how many, so you have about 8 acres of the property are open to on these open weekends for people to come and see. How many different taxa do you have in the garden, in your collection?
Well, we're over 27,000 now. We're probably a good bit over that, but we stick with that number because we haven't had time to go through every bed.
Right, okay. How many things have you killed in the process of deciding 27,000 things can live in this garden?
As of 2 years ago, we killed our 50,000th different kind of plant. So
really?
I don't think anybody alive today has killed more different plants than we have.
Yeah, I say that on my Q&As sometimes because I had the nursery for so many years. Is that folks are watching at home and they're concerned about this one plant, and you really have to, as a gardener, you have to kind of pull that Band-Aid off, and you're going to kill a few things.
You're going to, but the key is when you kill them, learn something.
That's it.
As long as you learn something. All right, well, this didn't work, and understand why it didn't work, and that's the key. As long as you do that, it's not a failure; it's a learning experience.
Yeah. True. Oh, so you're one more open weekend for the spring open garden, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and one more for the spring, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 to 5, and then we'll do this again in July. The middle 2 weekends in July, we'll do it again. And many of the plants that aren't even out of the ground now will be up then. Different things will be in flower.
Right,
It's a very different experience.
Yeah, and this is, the spring ephemerals are still here that haven't died back.
Yeah, the Jack and the Pulpits are still up, some still in bloom. And
so we got this combo right now where you can still see the spring ephemerals up, and the summer things are kind of taking over the garden. Taking
spring's
over.
really an amazing time because yes, you have so many things coming all together. It's quite an experience.
So this place is tagged amazingly well, so you can actually come and learn, and you need to spend some time. It's going to take you a little time.
Yeah.
When we say there's a lot here to see, and it's humbling. I've been doing this for 40 years in this garden. You're going to find some things that you've never seen before.
Yeah, there's a lot of things here that are the only one in the world. So yeah, no matter how keen you are, and we typically find the more keen plant people there are, the longer they spend. So typically if you're a really good plant person, it's going to take you 2 to 3 days to really go through the garden.
Acanthus.
Acanthus are amazing. I love the bear's breeches. A lot of the commonly sold ones actually don't grow well here, which is generally mollusk. Most types of mollusk don't do.
Right.
But any of the Volcanicus hungaricus hybrids like this is Summer Beauty. Pretty amazing plant, and this just thrives. Morning Candle's another good one. Acanthus are just amazing plants. They're all misnamed in the trade. It just drives us a little nuts.
That's what I'm wondering. As you're just telling me this, as I'm learning something, because I do believe that there's some mislabeling going on.
Yeah,
now that I'm looking at this.
Most everybody sells a lot of things as Acanthus spinosus. Not a single one. We have traveled all over the world. I have never seen true spinosus in a nursery.
Okay.
So we actually have the real thing. We can show people if they're interested. Here's what it actually should look like. So we got a lot of work to do to get the nomenclature right. But Summer Beauty is, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. It's an interesting plant in that all parts are trying to hurt you.
It does have some spines.
Yeah, if you don't, leave it alone. Enjoy its beauty and leave it alone.
Well, some of the foliage that has mollusk as a parent is actually not harmful, but if you get true spinosus, it is incredibly painful if you were to go grabbing a leaf. But these are so known by their use in architecture. I mean, if you look at the old columns from Greece, these are what the columns are made out of. It's such a historical plant. It's really neat that we can grow a piece of history.
And in the texture-wise, it's just you can't beat this for It bounces off of everything.
It's like a fern on steroids. Yes, it has that sort of ferny growth habit, but much coarser leaf.
Right. So let's talk about Calacanthus, Tony.
Calacanthus is obviously a plant that a lot of people know. Many people know it from the grandmothers passed along as Sweet Betsy.
Or Sweet Booby, all kinds of names for it.
All kinds of great southern names. And so back in the early 90s, the late J.C. Ralston had one of his students cross the Chinese one, which happened to be flowering with the native. And he's like, cross that together and see what happens. So a student named Richard Hartledge actually made the crosses and created this incredible monster of a plant called Calacanthus ralstonii. And since Tom Rainey, another NC State plant breeder, has crossed the West Coast one with the Chinese, and they produce this. This is Aphrodite. And this is, I mean, look at that. That is just an amazing, amazing plant. So
how tall is it now? 15 feet or 20 feet?
Oh, it's close to 20.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. It doesn't have the fragrance of some of the native ones.
Right, but a much showier flower.
But the flower is 2 to 3 times as big. And the flower form is really more like the Chinese. But the color comes from the American.
Yeah. And a much more vigorous growth habit with the bigger leaf. And
oh, it's incredible. Yeah, when people see this, they just stop in their tracks because nobody's really seen anything quite like this. And we just clean up some of the bottom so that it really has that effect of this giant fountain of color in spring.
So it's suckering, but it maybe not as is it aggressive?
Well, no,
suckering?
it doesn't sucker.
It doesn't sucker.
It does not sucker.
So
no,
with
it does not spread. It's a tight clumper, but it just has a lot of extra growth that we just clean out, just so we can grow things underneath it.
Yeah, it's amazing how many gardens we'll go into that. You know, it's a lot of folks are drawn to this plant, and it's incredible.
It's hard to imagine a better flowering shrub for spring. The Chinese is also in flower right now.
Right, you have it here?
We do, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
Beautiful.
Oh, I popped that one off.
Yeah.
All right, that was dumb.
Yeah, they just want to fall apart. Yeah, they're going to fall apart.
Pull is going to.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so this is a Chinese species.
Yeah, this is the Chinese one. So this one was on the other side of the world until they brought it here. So this is a beautiful flower, always comes in light pink and always hangs down. So this is one of those plants you want to limb up so you can walk underneath and see this amazing flower. So you can see this is where some of the larger size came from in the hybrid. But the hybrid is even bigger than this parent.
Yeah, certainly in the flower. You can see where the leaf size came from. And the nodding flowers, interestingly, it almost reminds you of a hellebore. The flower is similar to a hellebore and are nodding like a hellebore.
Exactly, yeah. It's like a hellebore on steroids. But I just love walking underneath plants that hang down so you can look up in them. There's just not many opportunities to do that.
No, and this plant's not invasive. I mean, it's not invasive in any way. I've never seen it.
No. It's a very well-behaved plant. It does produce seed. You can grow others from seed, but we've never had a...
They just not germinating in the bed all over the...
No, we've never seen extraordinary... We have a couple germinate, but enough to share with visitors who like this sort of thing. Yeah,
a couple other things. You have your one more weekend of your spring open garden.
Yes. And
then you'll have it in the summer. But you're also graciously going to allow our visitors who are visiting our open garden on the 20th. 20th is they're either coming Friday night, Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon, and you're going to open your garden Friday morning.
We will be here all day Friday for people that want to come and visit us while they're in town to visit you. We'd love to have them come out.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, one of our signature plants is the genus Amorphalis. So this is a plant whose flower resembles a deformed part of the male anatomy. This is Amorphalis cusianus. Look at this giant stalk, and it just pops up over a matter of days, and just incredible with this beautiful spotted spathe and this beautiful black spadix. What an incredible plant. And once the flower finishes, then it forms seed. So this is one of the only ones that will form seed on its own, and it forms this beautiful head of pink, the most fluorescent pink seed that over a period of several weeks changes to cobalt blue. So it starts out pink, and then pink and blue, and then solid blue. It's just an incredible thing to watch in the garden.
What type of space do they need to be planted in?
Wow, they're pretty easy to grow. As long as it's not wet, it'll grow in some sun, it'll grow in shade. It's probably the best in like a light open shade with a few hours of sun. It's perfect.
You sell them in containers over here in the greenhouse. We were looking at them the other day.
Yeah,
What would you expect from, how long before you would get something like this? I mean, does it take a couple years
From what we
for it to
sell,
develop?
I think you probably about 3 years to get a flowering plant.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
then it'll flower generally every other year because it takes so much energy when it flowers because the tuber is about this big, and then when it flowers, it sucks all the energy out of the tuber.
Right.
And then the tuber, the leaf will come up the second year and will regrow the tuber, and then it flowers again the next year.
In order to have this many plants that you in this kind of space, you've created all kinds of different environments that they would naturally be in, and that's one thing folks can see. If you have a moist area, you have dry, you know, you can come and see some of the things that you can do in your little specialized spot of the world.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Tell us about this. When did you develop this little space down here?
Well, this was done in the around 2000. We put this in. We took the lowest spot on the property and we actually dug it lower because we wanted a place for wet sun plants. And this created this bog, which is full of iris. We've done the Louisiana iris are right now, and then we're just transitioning into the Japanese iris. That will be followed by the Sudata iris, which are Japanese hybrids. So yeah, this area continues to evolve. In summertime, the hibiscus are in bloom. There's just it's really a great transition, but just by creating different types of habitats.
Right. So you have peat bog type areas for some of those low nitrogen plants.
Absolutely,
right.
Yeah. This bog is where a lot of the carnivorous plants are in there, so that would be a low pH area, and they thrive in there.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then. So yeah, that's my point here is that folks can come here and they can really see you've matched a spot to the plant.
Yeah, it's not just one habitat because again, we want to show people. Yeah, you've got wet area, dry area, sunny area, shady, dry, shady, wet. We can pretty much show you anything and what's possible in that area.
Right. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Tony, as always, for being
Jim.
such a good host, and look forward to being able to come back because we never run out of content here.
No,
this is the biggest piece of content that I have that we've seen, and we've traveled quite a bit. So,
thank you.
Beautiful.